everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. My name is Lauren and welcome to day 11 of BOOKMAS. We are almost at the end. I can't believe it. This has been a long journey. I've had many iterations of nails throughout this stories. A lot has happened in my life in the last month since starting this series. But today we're talking about my top read from each month, from January to December. I only picked one. Battling it out was super hard, but I think I picked some goodies and I'm excited to get into them. January was Tin Queen by Devney Perry. I read a lot of good books in January, but Tin Queen is the one that stuck with me the most. It is one of my favorite reads of hers of all time, probably like my top 1 or 2 spot of Devney Perry books. This follows Emmett and Nova. Emmett is trying to sort of reinvent himself from his motorcycle club, find himself again after something tragic happens. He meets this mystery woman at a club and agrees to do a no strings attached arrangement with her, but there is secrets that she is hiding from him. They're catching feelings. She loves riding just as much as he does, but Nova Talbot, the one that is hiding secrets, and her dad actually killed Emmett's dad. And when that all unfolds, you can expect what is going to happen in this situation. So obviously if you love like the gutsy MC romances with like that enemies to lovers feel, this is perfect. There is some heavy trigger warnings, so like make sure you check that. They're not too heavy, but I do have like every trigger warning listed in my reviews on Goodreads, so go and check those out. But it still managed to feel like a light book even through all the heavier elements. This book truly wrecked me. Seeing the absolute turmoil that these two had growing up as young kids, like the things that they went through, broke me. But then seeing Nova become this strong FMC who was just trying to avenge her dad was mind-blowing. And like when it all unfolded, I was like completely blown away. I was not expecting things to unfold the way that they did, and it wrapped up the series perfectly, because this series like you have to read from start to finish because it truly like the plot is overarching throughout the entire book. Emmett had this beautiful story of growth and he kind of just let Nova do her thing and like work her life out herself, didn't push her, let her come back to him in her own time. And but the angst between these two, I was floored. I was like, my mouth was watering. That said, there is only like maybe like 3 spicy scenes to remember. I don't really remember exactly. Now February had one of my top faves of the year. Like it was unmatched. I thought this was going to be my number 1 pick for the entire year, but it didn't end up being my number 1 pick. But Out in a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. This is a 6-star freaking read. A 6-star read. Absolute perfection. We are following Win and Bo. They both have limb differences, and Win is this strong-willed FMC who's just like wanting to do life on her terms and not wanting to follow anyone else's like path, just like really pushing her own narrative. But then after one night at a Halloween party where Win and Bo are both dressed as pirates, she accidentally falls pregnant. And then it's their journey of trying to work out what they're going to do, what are the steps they're going to take, and how to navigate co-parenting, because they decide to go through with the pregnancy. She really struggles with trying to let someone help her and take help from people because she just is so fiercely independent. But this is a more low angst romance, so if you love that, this is perfect. The characters felt so well-rounded. They had so much depth to them. Win went on a journey of like self-growth and self-discovery, and it was just so satisfying. And then Bo is this wholesome sweet boy who just wanted to care for her. He just never stopped supporting her and showing her how much he cared for her and how much he loved her. I loved it. The ending, this truly felt like one of the warmest hugs I've ever felt in my life, and it just had this message of not being defined by your differences, not being defined by typically classes like inabilities. That said, it is single POV, which maybe is off-putting for some people, but I think don't really need it because Bo is so forthcoming with his emotions. He truly is always telling Win how he feels, what he wants, and how he expects this situation to go. I truly think this is the book that will convert everybody to an accidental pregnancy lover, because this book converted me. It is perfection. And on a note, I did see a review on Goodreads that really enraged me, but someone saying like the FMC is really regular with her pill. No, she is not. Read the book properly. She is not regular with her pill. The final thing that I want to highlight is that this book has no third act breakup. So If you're a third act breakup hater like me, you'll love this. March, I read one of the most gut-wrenching, painful books I've ever read in my life, but it was done in such a beautiful way. I read 7 Days in June by T. Williams, and this book blew me away. There is obviously heavy triggers, like there's self-harm, sexual assault of a minor, so like go check those trigger warnings. They are on my Goodreads. I think T. Williams managed to write this story with such heavy themes while still allowing so much humor and lightness to the story. I can't explain it, but it was just perfection. We are following Eva, who is a single mum but also a romance author. Her life is in complete and utter chaos no matter how much she is killing it at her job. Then there is Shane, who is also an author, who they meet at a convention, and lo and behold, they actually have history together. They spent 7 days together back in June when they were teenagers, formed this bond that was unbreakable, that they continued to write books to each other. Their MCs were always based on each other. I was floored. Their chemistry was unmatched. It was messy but beautiful and just so intense. Eva had this strength and she had these trust issues that she was really struggling with, but Shane just kept like pushing and not pushing in a bad way, but pushing for her to give in because he knew that he could protect her and build up her strength again. Watching them reconnect with the pain that they had gone through, I was so utterly hooked. I think I finished this in like a day. Like I said, it tackles those heavy topics in a raw, emotional way, but still, I was laughing, I was crying all at the same time. I think this is the only book that I cried to this year because it was so well done. This book is everything that I want in a romance. It tackles real life female journeys as well as like a romantic story in the perfect way. It's that perfect balance of like chick lit and romance. That is what I love. April had another 6-star read, The Fake Out by Stephanie Archer. This book is the epitome of a perfect hockey romance. Hazel wants to get revenge on her toxic ex, so what does she do? She fake dates his biggest rival, Rory Miller. It is supposed to be this gutsy act of resilience, but Mr. Miller continually showers her with love and affection and all these sweet things that you can't help but fall in love with him. She is breaking all of her rules and she just cannot help but fall for him. Like she cannot help but feel this connection with him. I was obsessed. Rory is the perfect golden retriever MMC. Now a lot of people don't like golden retriever MMCs, but Rory will change your mind. He just constantly showers Hazel with gifts and love and affection, like I said, and he's protective but swooning all at the same time. I love him. Hazel, really, her story broke me in so many ways, but then she just keeps getting back up and she keeps fighting for what she believes and what she wants. She has this drive and passion that is unmatched in romance books. She just continually wants to do good for other people and has a lot of pain from her mum, which is so real. Like I said, this book is pure comfort. It feels like a warm hug. It has delicious spice and it is the perfect hockey romance. Hockey romance has not been great for me this year, but because this is what I want. This is what I expect in a hockey romance. May was my first 5-star read from Catherine Cowles this year. I had many, but this was my first Catherine Cowles book, I believe, of the year, and it ended up being a 5-star. Fragile Sanctuary. This is a brother's best friend, grumpy sunshine, forced proximity, renovation style, romantic suspense. I loved this. When I finished it, I thought it was going to be a 4.75, only because the ending was really triggering for me, but I still think it's a 5-star read. It's still that perfect Catherine Cowles book that I expect it to be. Now, Ro loses her entire family, moves in with this foster family that really embrace her and take her in, and now she's renovating the house that burnt down when she lost her family. So her brother is renovating it and he employs his ex-FBI profiler best friend to come help him with the project. He is grumpy, doesn't want to let her in. So Ro is determined to kill him with kindness because she is truly the embodiment of a sunshiny character. The tension between these two is insane. Again, there's no third act breakup. Make sure you check your trigger warnings because again, this is another heavy one. This series is probably one of her heaviest series, and even at the prologue, I knew that this book was going to be a great read. I knew that it was going to hurt and make me love it all at the same time. This has truly the best found family I've ever read about from Catherine Cowles. Like truly, I love every single character and I have loved seeing the 3 stories have gotten so far. Bond that these two formed just developed in such a raw and emotional way. I loved it, and then the plot, the twists, I was floored. I was so not expecting that, but Catherine Cowles can do no wrong in my eyes, and I'm sorry, because you will see a lot of me reviewing her, and it is what it is. But I only have one series left to complete of hers, and I don't know what I'm going to do after that. After that, we have June and July, obviously, but June and July are books from the same author. So June was before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. This is a marriage reconciliation, like second chance. So these two people get divorced after they have a traumatic event occur to them, and it's their journey back to each other. Yasmin and Josiah truly thought they would be together forever, and then when their grief just overcomes them and they can no longer like be in love with each other, they decide to split ways. They are now divorced, co-parenting 2 teen kids and running a business together. But as they're growing and discovering themselves again and trying to move on from each other, they are learning that their chemistry and that their love for each other truly still exists, and how are they going to deal with that, and are they going to come back to each other, or are they going to go their separate ways? What is the best outcome? This one, you majorly need to check your trigger warnings. I do have them listed. One of them is hidden under a spoiler. Please check your trigger warnings because it is very heavy. But as always, Kennedy Ryan just knows how to hit with her romance books. She knows how to give you, again, that romance and that chick lit like storyline. Obviously, she tackles those heavy topics of grief and pain and loss, but she manages to balance it with this beautiful story of friendship and sisterhood and female empowerment and female growth. And my heart broke for Josiah because he was broken after losing the love of his life, and it was never something he truly wanted, and he just didn't know how to deal with everything. This story does not shy away from talking about the hard stuff. It is definitely difficult to read. It gives you lightness and hope and resilience, and showing you that through darkness you can come out the other side better, stronger, lighter, happier. I'm going to talk about July now because there's a couple of points that I want to touch on with both of these books. So I'm going to talk about July now, and that is This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. This is the second book in this series. This book I loved even more than Before I Let Go, which I didn't think that I would, but I loved it even more. This follows 2 single parents. We first have Soledad and Judah. Soledad is a mother to 3 girls. She's a stay-at-home wife, and then her life completely implodes when her husband, who is a piece of fucking shit, is arrested for stealing money from the business. And who found that he was stealing money from the place that he worked and reported him? Judah. Obviously, Judah. So left to pick up the pieces of her life and her family, Soledad has to reinvent herself, figure out how is she going to keep her girls in school, keep a roof over her head. She becomes this like food blogger style, like TikTok style creator, and it is so like sweet and wholesome. It just made so much sense. She also has to navigate constant racism in her life because her ex-husband was a white man, and she has one daughter that is more white passing than the rest of her daughters, and his family, it's very obvious that they favor her, and it is such a confronting topic to read about. Kennedy Ryan knows how to give you those confronting, raw, emotional topics, but still balancing it with a great romance plot, a great story of empowerment, and it doesn't feel like you're going to be constantly pulled down by heavy topics. There is lightness throughout the story. And then Judah, who's obviously everything that she shouldn't want because he sent her ex-husband to prison. He is navigating co-parenting with his ex-wife. He has 2 sons that are on the autism spectrum, and they both have very different needs, and he is constantly showing up for his boys and constantly showing the reader a healthy co-parenting relationship. And I think it's so nice to read about because you don't see it a lot in real life, especially. Like, I just think you don't see very many healthy co-parenting relationships portrayed. I think the part of This Could Be Us that is a little bit stronger for me than Before I Let Go is the story of you have to love yourself before you can love anyone else. Soledad really takes the time to heal. They both truly do, but I think that messaging was a little bit stronger in This Could Be Us. But I loved both of these. Both of them have incredible spice and incredible sisterhood, incredible female friendships, so strong. The spice is sensual and delicious, and it's not just like pound town, constant, but it's the perfect tasteful amount. So I love both of these. We are up to August and September. Both of these are really interesting months because neither of them got 5 stars. So picking was a little bit hard, so August I ended up picking Forbidden King by Laura Pavlov, the 3rd book. Yeah, the 3rd book in the Magnolia Falls series. This is a brother's best friend romance. It is on the forbidden side because they were, I believe, like basically foster siblings as well. But as always, Laura Pavlov never misses and always gives you the perfect small town romance with found family vibes. We are following Sailor and Kingston. And Kingston has always wanted Sailor but knew that he couldn't because she is his best friend's younger sister. But now she's back in town. They can no longer deny that they have intense chemistry, and she is starting her own business and he is going to help her set up the space and renovate. Truly one of the most delicious books that I've read from her. These two had intense chemistry. I read this on the plane to Europe and I just could not stop reading it because I loved it so much. Kingston is this fiercely loyal, protective MMC that just cherishes her. And then Sailor is just this captivating FMC that is so resilient even through everything that she's gone through. They both really struggle with their loyalty to each other as well as her brother and trying to navigate it, and I just love this. I don't remember too much about it, but I remember loving it and having a great time and just not wanting to stop reading it because it was so good. Definitely something that I probably need to reread to refresh it in my mind, but loved. In September, once I got back from overseas, I truly fell down a rabbit hole of two authors, and those were Jay Salmon and Kristen Proby. Kristen Proby was the one that came out just slightly on top because I loved her books just a slight bit more. They are short. They're about 300-ish pages, all 4 books that I read in September by her, and none of them have third act breakups, so they were a slate. Whereas the Jay Salmon ones, they also don't have third act breakups, but they were a little bit more, they were also short, but they were a little bit more spicy. These ones were a little bit less spicy. We are talking about On the Wild Side, which is book 4 in this series. My favorite one could have easily been book 3, which I also adored, but I ended up going with book 4. It is a single mum bull rider romance. Look, Brady's career is starting to wind down. He's trying to figure out what is he going to do next, but he has been dealing with this attraction to this mysterious woman that came to town who's garnering a lot of secrets, and this is Abby. Abby's a single mum. She's on the run, hiding a lot about herself. She doesn't want to be on photos. She can't be posted anywhere. She is trying to protect herself for some reason. But of course her past would not stay buried forever. The ending of this book broke my soul because Brady it just felt so hurt, but he also just loved and cared for her so much that it was really hard to sort of navigate his feelings. And Abby's story was equally just as heartbreaking, and she just had this resilience and this determination to fight for what she wanted. And I really admire small town romances that have strong FMCs that don't feel like the men need to constantly protect the women. Even though like he slipped up, did the wrong thing, he immediately corrected his actions, and I love a man that is accountable. He was so accountable and just continually showed up for her and her daughter, and I loved this one. Loved it. Kristen Proby, I've got so many books that I'm going to be reading from her next year. It's kind of insane. And the same with Jay Salmon. Both of them, that's the backlogs that I'm going to be diving into. October is none other than Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. This was waiting for me at the post office when I got back from overseas. I was lucky enough to receive a copy of this from Hachette, and I loved this. Now, I'm not going to talk about this too much because we all know about Wild Eyes. This is a single dad romance between Skylar and Weston. There's a lot of Westerns this year, and Skylar is trying to break free from the pain of her control from the media, the label and the media and her family, because she is a country singer. So she comes to Rose Hill to record an album with Weston's best friend, Ford. And she is never worked a day in her life, rocks up in her Tesla, and he's like, what the fuck is this tourist doing? And he houses her in the bunkhouse, and she just tries to help him and tries to show herself and him that she's not just this starlet who's really out of touch. She really tries to get involved. And then she formed this beautiful relationship with him, but also his children, and I loved this so much. I think the standout for me obviously in this book is her resilience, her strength, her story arc, her way to, like, she just stands up to the people that caged her and just really was so strong. But then I loved the relationship that she formed with his kids, a top fave for a reason. I loved this book so much. I think I've talked about it to death, but this is the superior Rose Hill book, in my opinion. We are at November. And November was a very hard month to pick from because I had so many great reads. What I ended up picking was This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. So we are following Lucy, who takes a trip every year to Prince Edward Island with her best friend Bridget, and they have 3 rules. And one of those 3 rules is to never sleep with Bridget's brother. On her first summer there, on her first trip, Bridget's not there yet, and she ends up going home with this guy who turns out to be Brenda's brother. So they keep that secret for a very long time. They agree they cannot let it happen again, and every year Lucy goes back to Prince Edward Island, promising to herself that she's gonna stay away, but he just keeps pulling her back in. Then days before Brenda's wedding, she runs off, goes back to Prince Edward Island, determined to have one last hurrah, one last summer with her best friend in her favorite place in the world. But Felix isn't feeling the same as he usually does. Something's changed, and Lucy starts to wonder, have her feelings changed too? This book has everything that I wanted in a Carly Fortune book. It truly is amazing. She writes such flawed but real characters, and that's what I love about these books. So if you don't like Carly Fortune books, there's not much I can tell you. This is probably not for everybody, but it is for me. I loved it. I loved everything about it. I think it is such a beautiful story, again, of sisterhood, something that I truly love. Navigating such a difficult situation. It's never pretty, it's never easy, but it comes out with this beautiful wrapped up bow, and I loved it. The final book of the year, December, is a photo finish. Again, I struggled. There was a couple of options, but I ended up going with a photo finish because I believe this is only 5-star that I gave in December. I don't remember. But this is Violet Eaton's story. She is the sister from the Chestnut Springs series, obviously, and this is her story. This is a second chance romance, a bit of an enemies to lovers workplace vibe. So we are following Violet. She is trying to separate herself from her brothers, trying to reinvent herself and find her own identity. So she moves to Ruby Creek to work at Gold Rush Ranch and to be a jockey. So she, along the way, starts like this spicy little account and connects with this guy who is trying to push like the boundaries. She keeps saying no, he keeps asking, she keeps saying no, and eventually she's like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. So she does it, and then he goes to her. Then when she wins her first race as a jockey, the person that congratulates her is that man. He calls her by her screen name on this like OnlyFans site that she was using, and it's that. I loved this. This is the story that I wanted for Beau, but we didn't get. Truly gut-wrenchingly emotional, but I just loved Violet. She had this pizzazz and this spark and this energy, and I loved this. I don't have much more to say because I feel like I've talked about this a lot, and there is a lot of wounds, a lot of healing, and a lot of growth in these characters, and I loved this series. I finished it. I didn't think that I would, but I ended up finishing it in December, and I literally read 3 books like back to back, and I was obsessed. So it tells you everything. But yeah, loved Violet's story. It is everything that I wanted, and it's a fave for a reason. Top 3 Elsie Silver book for sure. So that is day 11 of Bookmas done. We have one more video to wrap up, which I am dreading filming, but I'm gonna go film that now. I'm excited for you guys to see that. I did it last year, and I was so enraged. But I'll see you guys tomorrow for that video. But I hope you guys liked this. Please subscribe. Please tell me like your 12 top books, like from like, you know, one from each month in the comments below. I would love to know, because maybe there's something that I haven't read and I'll put on my TBR. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye guys.